let's talk about the church, right?
Okay.
Over the last few months, there are those who are of the opinion that there is an over-attribution of whatever happens in this country to God. Is there justification for that? Are we overdoing it?
We're not overdoing anything. We have a lot of justification to that. You see, everybody goes somewhere before coming. And what you have your faith in determines what you say and how firmly you say that. And Ghana is a nation that we are religious, if I'm not mistaken. We're very, very religious. We have the Christian, the Muslims, and all of you. So everybody, anyone that comes out might have heard something or consulted something before coming. So I don't think we've overdone anything or we're overdoing anything.
Does it not show or does it not lead to a weakening of our abilities? Because then when something good is about to happen, we say, oh, it's God. Then there is no emphasis then on people's capacities. There's no emphasis on people's abilities to do things.
I don't think that's right. Because no faith teaches one to be lazy or to attribute negativities only to God. And for instance, you can receive a good word from God. Until you work towards it, it will not come to pass. So then when you say it's going to make us kind of lazy or unproductive, I beg to differ. Because God wouldn't tell you to sleep and get what it is that you want to have. The laborer deserves his wages, meaning what you work for is what you get. So you don't ask God to feed you when you are not working. So having faith in what you do is the ability to know that there is an invisible hand helping you in what you're doing to achieve beyond what your physical strength could have given you.
How do we place that near prophetic declarations of elections? Is it a matter of this is the person that God has said will be, or this is a matter of the person who is the most competent to do the job?
You want this conversation to shift into the prophetic atmosphere, and I'm somebody that I'm extremely careful when it comes to the office of the prophet, because it's a prophet, it's an office you can't understand until you step in it. For instance, when you make a carpenter, excuse me for saying that, the minister of a Greek, he will only succeed if in the mind of being the head, he submits to those who have the technical know-how to lead. Yes, you are the minister, but you know nothing about a Greek. And you submit to those who are in the field. Then you will be a successful minister. But when you putting a square peg in a round hole, when you hear from God, there's nothing like a contradiction. There's nothing like this is the opposite of that. When you hear from God, you know it is God who is speaking. Now, when you are led by your stomach, the mind speaks, the mouth speaks. But when you are led by the spirit, the heart speaks. They are not the same thing. When you are led by the stomach, your mouth will speak.
Right.
But when you are led by the spirit, your mind and your heart speaks. So when it comes to the office of the prophet, you need to be very careful. I wouldn't want to look down on someone who said something that didn't come to pass, because even God can ask you to say something and change his mind later. Not that he changed his mind, but whoever you have been sent to go deliver the message to might have done something without your knowledge. Hence, God asking you to go and say the difference of what he asked you earlier.
Right. So then, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
When church leaders prophesy or towards elections, right? They prophesy that so and so person could win the election. It doesn't happen. How does that impact the image of the church? Because based on what you're saying, God can change his mind. Is that not the case?
He doesn't change his mind. He forgives. He accepts repentance. You may want to punish your son and be firm on it based on what the son is doing. But then if after a while, the son changes and becomes the son you want, won't you change the will? You will. And if you are created in God's image, why do you accept yours? But you're struggling to accept God's.
And I'm struggling to understand where you're taking me to.
Because that is where I want to take you to.
Because
I'm refusing to go where you want to take me to.
No, I'm not taking you anywhere. Because this is, a discourse in the public space. Because of events of the last few months here in this country.
We've heard people say things that God said.
So then, the impact it has on the image of the church, is it good?
All right. You see, we all have different things we call God. So the fact that the person said, "Thus saith the Lord," does not mean the one you know. Because somebody saying, "I swear to God," may not be the Jesus you know, but the person has another God. But the name God goes to all of us. And we accept it. Oh, the God we know is that no. So you need to know which God spoke to the person. Because God is not the author of confusions.
Okay.
You understand?
How do we determine it as believers? How do we determine that this could be coming from, the God we all share, and this could not be coming from that God?
So let me work it this way. The determining factor depends on how vested we are in the word. Because it says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Sometimes we allow emotions to lead us in making declarations. You need God to help you stand firm, even if it is not in your favor, to say what he says. Our inability to still taste the medicine, no matter how bitter it is why you are saying, don't we think it's going to affect the image of the church? But the fault is not the church. The fault is the churched.
What does that mean?
The one being churched is where the fault comes from. Because if you are being churched, or you are being raised as a child of God, and you also do you do revisions when you were in school? Did you? Okay, why did you do that?
To help me retain what I have learned.
That's the word I was looking for, retain. But if you don't do revisions and you just go sit in the lecture hall and whatever was, you will not remember anything. And that is when you become gullible. The challenge is how gullible we've become. And we don't peruse the word. We don't try to understand it for ourselves. We take everything hook, line, and sinker. So at the end of the day, we contribute to the errors. But it doesn't mean everything is bad. Let's not put all in one pot. That is all what we all are. Because some also said it, and it came to pass. So why not focus? You see, what you celebrate is what you attract. The more we talk about the negativities, the more it multiplies. But if we focus on talking about the positivities, we become positive. I was talking on a sister station and I was telling them, if the media houses would take the first 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning to talk about positive things and not about politics, we will not be divided.
How does that work?
It works simply because, haven't you noticed that it is the media that is raising the new generation? What you churn out there is all about politics. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. is when everybody's energy is opened to receive. And that is when you give us politics.
Because people need to be informed
Who
of
are
what's
those
going
people?
on.
That is what you are informing them with. So that is what they will desire. Because that is what you give them. When you start giving them positive things, they will desire for the positive things. It shouldn't only be NPP, NDC, PPP, or whatever. We have good things out there you can talk about. So that generation will begin to see good things happen. But it is always about the bad things NPP did, the bad things NDC did. So the children, the generation are growing only to focus on competition. Because who wants to outplay who? But if the media, you are the fourth estate, if I'm not mistaken. If you begin, and though you are the fourth estate, you look like the first. Because you put government on their toes. So if you begin to shoot out the positive things, the generation will be molded positively.
The flip side of that is perhaps our political leaders, our church leaders should be doing the right thing So that when the media wants to report on it, it would only be positive things. How about that?
So why do you report on bad things because somebody is doing bad when you have a choice to report on good things?
We have to put the spotlight on the bad things so that the right things are done.
Suffice it to say, my darling, do you know that the fact that your neighbor is bad does not mean you should tell everybody how bad your neighbor is, but you should live how good you are so people will see the difference? So to make a difference, don't highlight on the bad. God saw darkness, but he never mentioned it. He said, let there be light. Darkness was a neighbor to his creation. It existed before everything, but God never mentioned it.
How then do you suggest that we throw light on the issues that affect the people, the issue that affect how this country is managed? How do we
You
throw
can
light
talk
on
about the issues that affect people without being political, but make it the problem of society. Then you are building a society. But when you bring the political coloration to that, that is where we have the divisions all over. And when there is division, even if I have something good to do, I won't do it. I would wait till my government is in power or my party is in power, forgetting that it is not the party that makes the nation. It is the nation that makes the party.
We'll come back to that. Let's put a pin in that and go back to the issue of prophetic declaration.
Yes,
because I want us to deal with what you have just said in a tag. But prophetic declarations may not be all bad, as you have indicated.
Yeah.
However, are they necessary?
Yes, very.
For our elections?
Very, very, very necessary. Why join a vehicle you don't know where it's going? It comes to give us directions. But like I said, you need to also be, vested in the scriptures. So you will test the spirits. You will test the message and know. Because a message that does not make you will mess you. So you need to know. And you see, it is not about the number of quotations you give, but the impact you make in life with the single scripture is what matters.
Are you saying these prophetic declarations for electoral results are important only because of the power it gives the Christian leaders over political leaders?
Because we are mostly on social media, we are the ones seen. But those who are not Christian leaders also prophesy. The prophetic is not only meant for Christians. Someone who can hear and see, be you a Christian or not, you are in that office. So many did, but because we are on social media, you understand?
Right. But do you consider that relationship healthy? Because it would appear that we want to sustain the issue of prophetic declarations for electoral results, and then the relationship with the political leaders, because we see, hang on, let me create the scenario so our viewers can follow, right? Because we see our political leaders kowtow to Christian leaders, and Christian leaders enjoy that power you hold over political leaders.
Tell me about
it. And that's why you want us to keep doing it. That's why you think it's necessary.
Well, can I tell you one truth?
Go ahead.
I hardly enjoy the presence of a political leader in my church. I see everybody as the same. If you are led by your stomach, that is when your mouth remains opened to swallow anything. Because in life, if you truly claim to be of the Lord, it doesn't mean you are going to be perfect through and through. There will be ups and downs, there will be valleys and everything. So why are we focusing so much on the prophetic when we have always been there and we've been doing the good things? Absolutely. But just this time that the prophetic seems to be, contradicting each other, then that should be the news. There's been good times that the same prophetic has preserved. So let's accept it as a phase in the journey. Let's learn from it and move on. Let's not focus too much on the negativities and the minuses. In as much as it might have done some ups and downs, let's hold on to the positivities and march on. Because the more you dwell on that which is not right, you will not have time to look for that which is right.
So how then do we fix if we do not pay attention to that which is not right?
I didn't
how do we fix that problem?
I'm not saying do not pay attention. Learn the lessons thereof. but don't spread the negative.
Okay.
Learn the lessons thereof and be ready not to repeat it.
So what are the lessons we should be learning when it comes to the relationship between Christian leaders and political leaders?
The lessons we have to learn is it's not about what anybody says. It's about what God says. And if God has said it, then it is the voice of God that will stand out at the end of the day. And like you say, God has spoken. We can't change it. Whether somebody spoke against it or in favor, God's will is done. Let's hold on to God's will and move on.
I see.